folks, welcome to Board Game Breakfast. First of all, a huge thank you to all those of you who contributed or are in the process of contributing to the Dice Tower Kickstarter. We have almost reached last year's goal in the first week, which is just phenomenal. We still have a few weeks to go on it, so if you want to back the Dice Tower for this year, well, I'm going to have Z helping me now full-time starting in February. We got other things. I mean, I'm very excited about what we're going to be able to do. I might even be able to get enough money to hire a second person, which would be really exciting and would really help increase our output. We just added some cool expansion cards for Dead of Winter and Robinson Crusoe and Pixel Tactics, so go check those out on the Kickstarter link site, which will be in a link below. Okay, well, let's get to the news. Well, we're still in the beginning of 2015, and so we're going to start with some reprints. First, we have I think this is the 4th edition of Dracon, because there was at least 3 other editions. This is an older game. This is one of the first games I played when I started getting into the new Euro games. This one looks like a dragon crawl, but essentially it's kind of just figure out how to move around and get things without the dragon trying to get you. I remember really enjoying this Tom Jolly game. I'll be interested to see. It's been a really long time, probably a decade since I played it. I'd like to see how it's changed over that time, if anything at all. Another game that Fantasy Flight is reprinting is Tigris and Euphrates, which is a classic game. I've had a love-hate relationship with this one. I've loved it and I've hated it, but I cannot deny that it is an extremely well-designed game, and this is in their Euros line, which is kind of odd since Asmodee and Fantasy Flight just merged, so it would seem that Fantasy Flight wouldn't have a Euros line. They would just let Asmodee do that, but this was probably already in the mix before the merge happened. Anyway, can't wait to see this one. Also, we'll be soon seeing Catacombs and the expansion of Caverns of Soloth from Elzra Corporation. Catacombs is a great game, but certainly needed a graphic overlay. And these new boxes look really great. The new artwork and everything they've done for the game. A game where you're flicking discs to go through a dungeon. Love Letter, a new version. Shocking. The Hobbit, also shocking. Seriously, I mean, we should take bets on what's next. We got Love Letter Terminator, Love Letter RoboCop. I don't know. Okay. Kickstarter has switched from Amazon payments to Stripe. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing. Most of the industry experts seem to think this is a good thing. It might actually be cheaper for Kickstarter consumers in the process to be using the Stripe payments rather than Amazon. I don't know. I thought Amazon was easy to use. I had it linked to my Prime account when I kickstarted, but we'll see how this happens in the long run. I'm worried how it will affect perhaps some of the Kickstarters that are happening during this transitional period as customers are like, I don't feel like figuring out a new payment system, but we'll have to wait and see how that works. In this segment, I show you one of my shelves and tell you why I have all the games on it. And this shelf is one of my square shelves, these boxes that are the Ticket to Ride size, and I like them quite a bit. We have Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which just came out last year, and even though I still like Suburbia better, and they just announced a new Suburbia expansion, by the way, this Castles of Mad King Ludwig is just a really cool game about building a castle. Airlines Europe is a reworking of Union Pacific, which is a train game from Alan Moon. Not Ticket to Ride, but this is like a stock market game, but it's a lighter one, and one that I like very much. Lords of Vegas is a Monopoly killer, where you're building casinos inside Las Vegas and trying to steal them from other players with a little bit of gambling thrown in. Zuloretto is a Spiel des Jahres winner, and one about building a zoo. Very simple, easy game. I have a lot of expansions in this box, but one that I like teaching new people. Then I got 2 small games here. I have Innovation, Echoes. This actually has all my Innovation stuff, and I really like the yellow version of Innovation better because I like the graphics a lot. And Dungeon Twister, the card game. I enjoy Dungeon Twister with all its miniatures and everything involved, but the Dungeon Twister card game is pretty simple and almost offers the same experience with almost as much depth, so it's an easy one for me to keep.
Hi, Internet. Last week, I introduced you to a couple of great abstracts and talked about why abstract games have such general appeal. And this week, we're going to talk about some more. Cortex by Tim Brown and CSE Games is a tile laying game for 2 to 4 players. Every turn you'll play a tile, draw a new one, and if you complete a shape by putting the last tile in place, you're going to take a scoring token. Now the catch is that the scoring tokens are worth points based on how many scoring tokens of that shape are left at the end of the game. So if you're completing really popular shapes, you're not going to score any points. But if you complete some shapes that nobody else completes, big bucks are coming your way. Originally by Galoob and now published by Foxmind, Abalone is an older, modern abstract game for 2 players. The idea behind this game is that you're using your marbles to push your opponent's marbles off the board. Get 6 of your enemy pieces out of play, you win the game. You make moves by pushing your marbles along divots on the board. You may push a maximum of 3 of your marbles at once, and in order to push the enemy, you must outnumber them. Like so. Quirkle by Susan McKinley Ross and Outset Media is an award-winning game that's a little bit like Scrabble, but with pictures instead of words. Players take turns playing tiles in rows and columns on the board, and every row or column must follow one of 2 rules. It either has to contain all the same shape with no repeated colors, or all the same color with no repeated shapes. Because of this rule, each row has a maximum of 6 tiles long that it can grow to be, and if you complete a row, not only do you score the points for the row like you would for any play, but you score an additional bonus 6 points for having made what they call a Quirkle. Quirkle is available in the full-size version, a travel version, and an alternate version called Quirkle Cubes that uses 6-sided dice with the different symbols painted on them, and every turn you roll a bunch of your dice before you place them on the board. Quirkle. Give it a shot.
First, we're going to look at these 3 cards here from Marvel Dicemasters. These are going to be the organized play prizes and such for the month of February of 2015. These have a Days of Future Past, which is one of the greatest comic lines of the X-Men, where the X-Men are hunted down by Sentinels. So they have evil Sentinels here, which take 2 less damage from characters with the X-Men affiliation, which is okay. I don't know that this is that great of a card. Then we have Wolverine here, who can attack a character with the villain in the field instead of your opponent. So he can take out small villains. This one's actually very useful. He's expensive. Here, a Wolverine for 6, but the ability to take out, let's say, some Green Goblins, or even the villainous Quicksilver can be very useful. Kitty Pryde here, you can spin down a friendly character to give her +2 attack, +2 defense until the end of your turn. That's really interesting. I'm not really sure. This is kind of one of those ones, would I take this one over to Kitty Pryde, who can just phase through and attack my enemy? I don't know. But it's still cool to have some different things, and this is what's coming in February. Now I'm going to be talking a little bit about a movie. I had a chance to see a production copy of The Next Great American Game. You can find this at tabletopmovie.com, and this is a movie which, just to be candid, when it was a Kickstarter movie, and I'm like one of the small producers of this movie, which means I kickstarted a little bit more money than other people, not that much. But this is a movie which initially was going to be kind of a look at the gaming industry, but instead focuses on this man named Randall Hoyt and his journey to get a game called Turnpike, which is about traffic, published. And so in this movie, it shows him, and the movie follows him very carefully as he goes around he goes to Origins, he goes to Gen Con, he goes to some publishers' places and shows them. He sits down with some really big names in the industry. Some of them are very kind to him and nice, and some of them are just mean as all get out. And it's interesting because, first of all, you get to kind of like see Gen Con and Origins and these other things from kind of a different perspective, and the New York Toy Fair and things. But also, you're following the journey of this guy. And at first, you're kind of snickering at him, okay? Because this game is probably not that good. In fact, I was one of the people that he talked to on this journey. It doesn't show it in the video, but I was one of the people that he came through and showed the game to, and I had a chance to play it. And it just wasn't that good of a game. It was a decent-ish idea, and I saw it near the end of its run rather than the beginning. If I had seen the beginning, I wouldn't have given it a second thought. and I gave him a lot of ideas and thoughts on this, but it's interesting as you watch him, he knows he has this great game, which it probably not. He knows he's great, and he shows us around, and he shows it to people, he shows people, and you're feeling like, ha, 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 but then you feel bad. And as the game comes out, it becomes a very personal story. I don't know if it's kind of like a sad movie or an interesting one, but I watched the whole thing. If you're interested in the board game industry at all, I think you'll like it. But even if you're not, let's say you probably could watch with someone who doesn't like board games that much, just to watch this person try to get their dream. And he has this other game on the side, which is a pretty good little game, but he's not interested in that one like he's interested in this one, and he thinks is the next great American dream. If you go to the website, there's all kinds of other stuff. There's interviews with Rainer Knizia and all kinds of big names in the industry and such. But if you get a chance, I would recommend this movie. It's very interesting. I think the cinematography and editing is very well done. And it really makes me feel like next time I meet Randall, if I ever run into him at a convention, I know him after watching this. Very interesting look at this. And if you're thinking about designing a game, this might be something to watch to kind of give you this is what it's like a little bit. So anyway, again, you can find it at tabletopmovie.com.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. Another Rainer Knizia classic that's made its way to the app world is Battleline. The game itself is actually hard to find in stores right now, but you can always try the app version. Let's take a quick look at this two-player card game. Originally released as Schottentotten, Battleline is the way GMT rethemed this two-player game, which to me feels like a combo of Lost Cities and poker. In the thinnest veneers of theme, players duel for control of flags, playing with a deck of 6 colors with 10 cards in each color. Flags are won when 3 tiles are placed on each side, and the best poker-style grouping, like 3 of a kind or a straight, wins. First person to 3 flags in a row, or 5 flags overall, wins the game. Battleline is a nice filler. There are 2 AIs, a well-done pass and play, and online play. In a really great move, there are a couple of gameplay options. You can toggle when in a turn a flag is claimed, the start or end of a turn, which does change the gameplay a little bit. And better yet, you can play in advanced mode, which introduces a larger hand size, and tactics cards, which add a significant amount of tactical diversity and meat to the game. The online play is interesting because it leverages a third-party interim service called Gourmet Gaming, which seems unnecessary because it just links back to your Game Center account anyhow, but it seemed harmless. The graphics feel a bit dated, and the important info of the number is quite small on the tiles, which matters a bit more if you're playing on your phone. But overall, Battleline is another classic Knizia that's got a solid app version. It's a nice filler with a little extra kick through those tactics cards. Give it a try.
So what do we have coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, we have a little trick-taking game called Potato Man. I just love the name of that game. A game called Alarm, where you're trying not to get caught by the police. 7 Kingdoms, which is a game that I guess I should have reviewed a long time ago. Very interesting little game. And The Old World and Code of 9. Kind of a long name here. This game's actually being reprinted by Z-Man. Spellcaster from R&R Games. Roll Through the Ages, The Iron Age. Bala Bala, which is a silly name for a game. Choice Words, a party-style game. Food Chain. Check out the review of this one. It's a very intriguing game. And then Witness. Wow, this is a really, really good game. I'm excited to show you guys this one. And then Rana, which is a straight-up Euro game with straight-up Euro mechanisms. Do I like it or not? Watch this week to find out. We also have the Dice Tower, a new episode of that's coming out tomorrow, and all the other shows from the Dice Tower Network. They have been blasting. There's all kinds of shows. Check that out. If you ever want to, you can go to our website underneath RSS feeds and subscribe to all the podcasts. Just one feed, and so you'd see what podcast came out that day. There's usually something that comes out every day. Okay, well, some live gaming this week probably. I'll be doing a Q&A today. I'll be doing that at 1 p.m., so I'll be doing it earlier today. at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have any questions for me, you can check that out. And we will do some live plays. I'm not sure when we'll be scheduling them, but we'll have a couple of those probably this week, or at least one of them. I'm trying to do one a week if I can pull that off. Okay, Chaz, take it away.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, and I have been busy spending the first week of this new year being apprehensive that the Fantasy Flight Empire recently launched the newest in their line of games based on the Star Wars license, the ambitious Imperial Assault, a game by Alan R. Moon. Wait a minute. That's no Moon. Imperial Assault is based on the Descent gaming engine, but is set in the Star Wars universe, setting the stage for stunning sci-fi battles, options for both character-building campaigns and skirmish modes, and opportunities to wield the cosmic power of the Force. Plus there's this guy.
Impressive.
Well, that settles it then, doesn't it? One Imperial Assault, please. No. As I said in my previous segment, I resolved that I absolutely will not give in and purchase Imperial Assault. Now, you may find my lack of faith in this game disturbing, but let me tell you why I'm sticking stubbornly to this resolution until the day that I inevitably cave in. See, I own Descent and many of its expansions, but I'm no weak-minded fool. I wouldn't invest all this money into this game without playing it. And I have played it, but always other people's copies of it. As for my own copy, well, I do take it off the shelf and admire it periodically, but admittedly, it functions more as an ornament on my shelf that collects dust. A dust ornament. And that's why, even though no one else that I know is planning on purchasing Imperial Assault, instead of investing in this awesome game that will likely end up as a shelf warmer for me anyway, I have resolved to instead console myself with the lie that I'm not going to eventually just give in and buy it. Yeah. Okay, but let's get back to Descent for a second, because I'm curious about something. Do you have any games like this in your collection? A game that you enjoy playing and plan on keeping, but there it sits, never hitting the table for some reason. Which games in your collection are dust ornaments, and why? Let me know in the comments below.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Today our question comes from Josh, and he says, if you and your friends are playing a game and they're getting rules wrong in the game. Let's say you came to a game group, they're playing a game, and you're like, can I join? And they say yes. Okay? They're getting rules wrong, but they're having a lot of fun. Do you tell them that they're getting the rules wrong, or do you just let them play incorrectly and have fun?
Nah, I usually say something. Because if they're going to play it again, if they're going to play a game more than once, they want to make sure they're playing with the right rules.
No, but let's say it's a game that they play all the time. They played the game maybe 20 times. And you come and they're like, oh, we love this game. This is one of our favorite games.
I say, oh, you guys realize you're doing this. And if they say, oh, that's the way we play it, then I would leave it alone. But
would you play that way, or would it hurt you?
I wouldn't play it. I like to play by the rules. But I would teach them the right rules.
Wait, so you actually don't play with any house rules ever?
No.
Really? Like in Carcassonne, if I said, hey, the way we play Carcassonne is we draw 3 tiles, and you can pick which tile to play. That's a variant.
No, I would not do 3-tile Carcassonne. Now, I do let people take their tile around the head, so you don't.
But that's not in the rules.
So you don't have to sit there and pick the tile. But at least you're only doing 1 tile at a time. You don't get a choice of 3, because the choice of 3 makes it easier. It's a different game than Carcassonne.
Well, I understand. Okay. For me, I think that I might say something But the Tom Vasel, who is getting older and wiser, hopefully, is learning that this is not always the best thing to do. I've come in before and like, that's wrong, and then it comes across very judgmental, like you're doing it wrong, and that doesn't always come across right. If they're having fun, let them go. I mean, I might mention it and say, you guys play differently than the rules. Is this a house rule that you do? Maybe try to work it in some way and see. And if they still want to play wrong, now there are some times where I play a game with someone and the rule they played is so wrong that I cannot play with them. Like, for example, I played Bonanza one time and someone said, I don't care what order you keep the cards in.
You have to keep them in order in Bonanza.
But if you don't keep them in order, that's not like a minor change to the game. That's like the whole game.
The whole game is getting your stack in order. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So there, I said, I just can't play this because it's just, I wouldn't find that very enjoyable. But you gotta be polite. You gotta be, what's the word? You gotta be able to communicate this in a non-threatening, non-annoying way.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in the game, then I will say something. I'll say, we're doing this wrong. But if I'm not in the game, I don't know if I'd lean over someone else's game unless they said something. Then I would say, well,
if a bunch of people are having fun, let them have fun. Who cares? It's all about having fun.
And then afterwards, maybe if they're good friends of yours, say, hey, you guys realize that you did this wrong, and the next time if you do it this way, you might enjoy it even more.
True that. Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Emails, questions at dicetower@gmail.com.
Hello, and welcome to my opinion of Nightmare Chess. Nightmare Chess is an awesome game. I have loved this game forever and ever since it came out, more years than I can comprehend. This game takes chess to a whole new level of awesomeness. I know I've used awesome a lot, but it fits. So shut up and play this game. The cards turn an ordinary chess game into fantastic fun for all concerned. Decimate your foe with your bombardment card, or turn your pawns into crabs and make them go funky things. It's a fun game. Make sure you got lots of little things, markers and whatnot to put on your pieces so that you know what they're doing. And remember, I forget what I was going to say. So remember what I was going to say, but without my saying it. Be well and play Nightmare Chess.
Folks, today I would like to talk to you about heavy games, or the weight of games. And I'm not talking about how much a game weighs. This one's light, this one's very, this one's, oh wow, it's a heavy game. No, we're talking about how difficult a game is to play. Let's say on the light end of things, we might have something like Apples to Apples. Apples to Apples is what we would consider a very light game. A game where you can just throw a card in the middle. There's a green card out there that says Wild. You have a card in your hand that says Ice Cream Sundae and George Clooney. So you're like, oh, George Clooney. And then the judge picks one of the cards in the middle. Very simple, easy to play. The rules can be taught in 20 seconds. That would be a light game. Then a heavy game is something that would be much more involved. And on the very far end of the heavy scale, we have games like Advanced Squad Leader. We have very heavy Euro games like Antiquity and Roads and Boats. Games that require lots of thought. The rules can take sometimes up to an hour, and maybe some of these games are so heavy that you may know how to play them quite well and still have to be looking in the rule book for rules. A heavy game sometimes. And then there's the games that you're not really sure where to put them on the scale, like Go, which is a very easy game to teach, only has a few rules, but is very mind-boggling. So that would kind of tilt towards the heavy end of the scale. Now what I want to talk today is how we utilize the scale, especially when talking to new gamers or gamers, even gamers who've only been in the hobby for a while. And it's very easy for us as gamers, as if you're an experienced gamer, to tilt upwards on this scale. I've met many people who I say Ticket to Ride is a medium weight game. They're like, no, Ticket to Ride is a light game. but it's only light to you if you play games all the time. Ticket to Ride is not a lightweight game. Ticket to Ride really is more towards the medium end of the scale. And you say, no. And I'll say sometimes that a game is heavy. Let's take War of the Ring. That's a heavier game. Lots of pieces. Now, that's not really that heavy. Yes, that is incredibly dense. And again, while I might be calling people out for this, I get caught up in this myself. I remember thinking, this twice has happened. I put Caverna on the top 10 two-player games for casual players, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really simple. But for most people, that would blow them away, and that was foolish of me to put that on the list. And even just now, I did the top 10 games of the year, family games of 2014, and I put Imperial Settlers, because I sat and thought about it on my memory list, and I said, yeah, it's a little heavier, but families can handle that. Turns out that probably wouldn't have been the best choice to put there because it is too heavy. And here I am thinking, it's not that heavy. But I'm looking at it from the perspective of a gamer. And the heavier games that a player likes. Let's say Advanced Squad Leader is your favorite game, or maybe something like Age of Steam, which is or an 18xx game, I should say, a fairly involved train game. And you play these all the time. Well, anything that's less than that, you're going to look at as medium or light, while to most people it's not. Now, I'm not asking people to define their own definitions for themselves. Do whatever you want. I'm just saying when talking to other people, especially when arguing and debating with other people, like this is a light game, not this is a medium game, we have to be careful and look at it in the perspective of the majority of gamers. Especially if, like me, you're somebody who's going out there and telling everybody about these games. If that's the case, then it is my job to be telling you, hey, this game, let's take some look here, Legendary. This is a pretty involved game, a lot going on. That's an upper medium game, probably. Carnival Zombie, that's probably the same, maybe even higher than that. Suburbia and Ticket to Ride, I said, was a medium game. Descent was probably a much more involved game, especially if no one knows how to play it. And you have to take that into account, too. So, I don't know. It's just something that I've been thinking about lately because a lot, there really isn't that many heavy games being made. These really big, deep games that have come out. But at the same time, many games are going to feel that complex and that difficult for people to learn. But just remember, as a gamer, you may have become immune to new rule sets and all these different rules. And when I'm teaching a game, I might say, this uses the Ticket to Ride card draw, and this does this because you have all these other games as a reference point to pull from. We got to try to think of it from the perspective of a new person. So even the guy who you taught him Settlers of Catan, and he really enjoyed it. You're like, oh, I got this great game for him. I'm going to give him Terra Mystica. He will love that. He will be completely overwhelmed by that likely. So you need to think in his shoes where he is on the weight scale of gaming.
Hi, I'm Ian from Open Box Games Jr. and welcome to Component Moment. And I know we talk about awesome components in a big box, but how about in a small box, a tiny box? So that's why we're going to talk about tiny epic kingdoms. So let's take a look.
There are kingdoms to conquer, tokens to explore, armies to muster, towers to build, books to research special abilities. And talking about abilities, look at all these races with their own unique powers. A star player token of epic proportions, and the meeples even fit inside.
That is an insane amount of components. I can't believe it in a tiny little box. So check out Tiny Epic Kingdoms by Gamelin Games. So see you next time. Bye!
And that's it. Once again, guys, thank you so very much for all your support that you've given to the Dice Tower. I am so excited about it. Well, we are not going to slow down this month. We have reviews, like I said. We have other stuff coming out. I'm very excited. I hope you enjoyed the reviews we did last week. Check out Roll for the Galaxy if nothing else. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.